Yes, that is right, folks. I'm interviewing the guy who wrote and produced the song Nights of Fire. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Bratt Sinclaire. How are you doing today?
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Jack.
Yes, thank you very much, Bratt. I'm glad I can have you on and looking forward to the whole chat and everything. But the first question I'd like to ask you, and it's a question I ask to absolutely everyone who's a musician or a producer or songwriter, and that is, how did you get into music?
Oh, it's a very long story, but to make a very long story short, uh, my parents were, both of them were math teachers. Uh, can you believe? Think about me as a poor boy by having such a weird and math teachers, man. Mom and dad, both of them. That was crazy. And you gotta be good. You gotta be good at math at school. You gotta be a lawyer or a math teacher, you know. But that wasn't my path. That wasn't my way, right? So uh, I've been sneaking in a very sad period of time when I was like 15, 17, 16, 17. Yeah, my father ran away and they got divorced. So I've been sneaking into this, let's call it a shortcut of life. Okay. So I had their eyes on me, like, oh, you gotta be a professor, you gotta be something very cool in the future. And I started playing guitar in a rock and roll, AC/DC, Van Halen, the 80s, the almighty 80s, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so it was sad, but that was my fortune, man, because I've been starting playing guitar seriously with a rock band in a Milan area. And then also a colleague, my father colleague, uh, Sergio Bassi, which is he has been like a kind of guru of me. Okay. And he spoke to my father and said, Andrea, okay, I'm Brett, my real name is Andrea, okay? Andrea is a very talented guy, so let's give him a try. He want to be a musician. Let's give him a try. So I went away, and I've been in Canada for like 1 year or so, and with my band called Layout. And after that, I never came back. I was a musician already, like 20 years old. I was a musician. That was me.
Oh yeah, that's brilliant though, and what a crazy story there, but
Yeah.
quite amazing one nonetheless. Because you did end up producing music then, and then you ended up producing Eurobeat music, which I mean is like a total 180 to the rock stuff. So how did you end up becoming a Eurobeat producer?
Now, that's crazier. That's crazy, man. Because I was in rock and metal, uh, 21 years old, okay? And when I came back to Italy from Canada, my very good friend Alberto Contini, which you know about, right? You know about Alberto Contini, who's the guy, right?
I recognize the name absolutely.
Okay, Alberto Contini is the founder of the Eurobeat business in Italy.
Ooh.
Okay, yeah. He created the connection between Avex back then. Avex Tracks was the company name back then, and Italian producer. Okay, he was the link. Okay, and I know him since my childhood. Okay, I was like 12, 11, 12, and this guy, when I came back from Canada, uh, gave me a ring and said, rock and roll is very cool. It's great. Oh, he's, by the way, the singer of Bulldozer, which is a cult metal band, thrash metal band, very, very well known in the world. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. But I produced Bulldozer a couple of albums.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, in the past. Anyway, I was saying that he called me and said, rock and roll is okay, but I'm creating a very good business with the Japanese on the Italo disco. I didn't know about Eurobeat as a word back then yet. Okay, and I said, what dance? What the fuck, man? I'm a, I'm a metalhead. Yeah, no way. What? But after that, I had no money. I was 21, something like that, 22, and I just needed a move, a power move. Okay, so okay, I accepted his advice, and he said, okay, check this out, and it was a CD from Dave Rogers. Back then, Dave Rogers was known as Aleph. Aleph.
Oh yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
Yeah, and the album was "Take My Life." Okay, it was a greatest hits. Okay, "Take My Life" is the title track. Okay, and I've been listening to that album for like 15 days, or a couple of weeks, and then Alberto asked me, so are you gonna do something with this kind of music? Yeah, I can do something like this, but man, I'm gonna do it my way. So don't ask me to do that way precisely with that sound, because I didn't like dance music too much, right? But and I started with this, and the very first track was Black Knight by Edo Black Knight, which was like a combination. It was not my Eurobeat style already back then, but if you listen to it now, it makes me laugh, a kind of fun. Okay, but I'm very pleased to re-listen it again, because it reminds me of these crazy days of changing in my life. Okay, very very big changes in my life back then.
Oh yeah, absolutely. A total transformation, like just
Yeah.
in those few short years. And you did mention a little bit that you wanted to do your own sort of Eurobeat style, which you ended up doing. So how, what I'd like to ask you is, how do you sort of approach writing, producing a Eurobeat track? How does that sort of process happen for you?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because when I created my current label called Sinclair Style. Why Sinclair Style? Because everyone in the world recognized my own style, because I'm not a pure dance maker, dance track maker. I always still, to these days, I still start from the guitar, okay, with a riff, or with on the piano, but I always write songs, like if it was like for a band, for an album project. Okay, so that's my approach. Afterwards, I get the whole idea on the computer, but it must be working on my guitar first. If I'm not happy at that stage, I don't get the whole thing on the computer. I'm not gonna do. I'm not gonna come next stage. Okay, so my approach is like a pop or rock composer. Okay, not a dancer which starts with a click, and the groove starts like, oh, that's cool, I'm gonna put some melody line on it. No way. I always start from the guitar, from the chords, and the chords progression, and changing the keys, and that kind of structure. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because I know with one of your tunes, one of the ones that appeared in Initial D, "No One Sleep in Tokyo." I mean, that has heavy guitar in it, solo is everywhere,
Right.
but that Eurobeat sound is in there. So, what was it like, sort of putting that tune together? And yeah.
Yeah. For example, you named "No One Sleep in Tokyo," which has a very, again, a very weird story. There's a weird story behind it, because originally that was a techno track. Did you
Oh,
know about it?
I didn't know it was for techno. I know the techno genre. I like that genre a good bit, but I didn't know it was originally a techno track.
No, originally it was a techno track. He has a groove like early 90s, 93, 94, in Japan, of course. And I remember that the A&R from techno in Avex asked me for a new hybrid genre of music in the between techno music and Eurobeat with rock guitar. It wasn't easy to go there, right? And so Andy Panigada, again from Bulldozer, the guitar player from Bulldozer, he had this riff. I actually made the riff, but he had this track. And he came to me, check this out, check this riff, check this guitar, these chords, and try to put something together with a strange groove. And so I did. And it was no one sleeping, very, very lower BPM. No one sleeping, Tokyo. No one's crossing the line. It was something like this. But the refrain was so good to my ears. So months later, I've been rethinking about the track, and I said, this must be a very good track, Eurobeat track. I'm going to do another version on a Eurobeat, and this has been a very good idea because it still to these days it still is a very good track, very popular, so popular, and so I'm so happy I decided to remix it in a Eurobeat. Remaking on a Eurobeat because it's slightly different from the techno version.
Yeah, it worked, absolutely did, because people remember it, people still remember the melody, and it was even appeared in one of the most iconic scenes of Initial D itself, which kind of leads me on to Initial D actually, because a lot of your tunes are in it, and we'll go through a few of the tunes that you had in Initial D. But I'd like to ask you, how did you actually get that music onto the Initial D soundtrack? Did you approach them? Did they approach you? What was the story behind that?
I didn't do it. No one of us did. No, really. Eurobeat 1993, 92, till after Night of Fire, big wave, like 2003, 2004, was so popular in Asia and Japan. They call it enka, which means traditional music, okay? And most of the people didn't even know that is made in Italy, not in Japan. A lot of people in Japan, they think it's made in Japan. And like 90% of Initial D and MF Ghost fan, they don't know to this day about Eurobeat. They think it's like the backtrack of Initial D production, right? But man, like Night of Fire, No One Sleep in Tokyo, and all other tracks being synchronized through those anime product, they existed like 15, 20 years before the production on Initial D and MF Ghost. But most of the people they don't know. So to answer your question, back then the great popularity of this genre of music brought Avex synchronizing Eurobeat with so many other different products. And also, about Para Para blasted very hard, like a couple of times in Japan. And that was a different exploitation of Eurobeat. And back then, initially was one of the different exploitation. It didn't surprise me. I've been synchronized to Konami, Coca-Cola, commercial, Adidas, Sega Master System, video games, anime, movie, a lot of things. So I wasn't surprised back then. But today, initially is legendary, and MF Ghost is becoming legendary as well. So today, thank God they do it. Avex did it, thank God they did it. Avex. So I'm so glad they decided to synchronize and go for this kind of combination and this kind of agreement with the guys from Initial D and later on MF Ghost.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the fans love it. The people who work in the scenes love it as well. It all works out in the end, so that's always a good thing. But probably one of the biggest tunes that you had in Initial D, and maybe even in general, would be the tune Night of Fire. And I'd love to ask you about that one. How did that one sort of come about, the whole process of it? Because it just blew up over there in Japan, I believe.
Yeah. It's always the same. If you ask me how this tune was created, it's always the same. The riff. This is descending fifth. And this is a tapping, tapping guitar technique, right?
Yeah, guitar tapping.
Yeah, the tapping. So I was playing like I had the chords. Okay. Welcome to my broken law. Welcome to the fire. Okay, now the synth phrase always the same, but I had the guitar. I was playing the guitar, so I started a lick with a lick, but always the same bluesy lick, pentatonic scale. I'm sick of this shit, So so I restarted again. Welcome to the welcome to the fire. Like a synth, but on the guitar.
Yeah.
At that point, very melodic. Now, descending fifth with my finger, right? Eddie Van Halen style, right?
Yeah.
Then the second one, it was already done like with the guitar. So I just transferred the guitar lick on a synth, okay? And it sounds very weird, but because no keyboards player, no one could make a descending fifth on the keyboards. It is absurd. It is something that you don't do when you are a pianist or a keyboards player, right? That's why it's so weird and catchy, because it's a guitar played on the synth. Oh, it's cool. Why? Musically, it sounds very cool, But with the sound of the synth, is a synth playing a guitar part.
Is that why that for the 2004 version of Night of Fire, you actually incorporated the guitar shredding and tapping away to kind of show that that's where it came from?
Yeah, because that was Avex asking me that for that, because they asked me the same question you asked me now. So they asked me, how did you do that? And I told them that they started from the guitar. So they said, techno version with a guitar in it. Okay, I'll do it. And then Christmas time version, because they were releasing, back then the Christmas covers, like There Must Be an Angel for You from Eurythmics, and all of the John Lennon, Happy Christmas, the war is over, all that covers. And to lead that compilation as a track, leading track, they asked me to do another version of Night of Fire once again. One more. I made like 10 versions of Night of Fire. I'm sick of it.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not gonna do. Yeah, and Joe Bratt, why don't you do a different version, one more like the Christmas version? So I called Maurizio de Jorio.
Yeah.
And he came in, and so what I'm gonna do now again? Please, let's change the refrain part. You're gonna Night of Fire, Christmas of Fire. We changed just a couple of lines, and making this kind of little modification, lyrics modification, and one more version of Night of Fire came out. That was the real story.
Yeah. Well, now I know why a Christmas version exists of that tune.
You didn't know about it?
I knew it existed. I knew the tune existed, and I've always kind of, for Christmas, I'd be like, yeah, I'll just play the Christmas version of Night of Fire. Why not?
They asked me for it. You're gonna have a Christmas of Fire. Okay, let's do it.
But I mean, what was it like when that song blew up and it became such a big hit in Japan? And even to this day, you have people still listening to the tune with it having like 20 million plus streams on YouTube and 10 million on Spotify. How does that make you feel that tune you did like 25 years ago now almost, it blew up and is still big to this day?
I'm very happy, also because I made money on that, of course, to be frank. But on the artistic side, Jack, you know the story about, probably not, the story about the license of Night of Fire at Avex?
The license?
Never heard about it?
No, I don't know that.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you because I just came back from Tokyo now. It's just last week. Okay, I was in Tokyo, right?
Yeah, you were telling me. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did. Thank you. And I was surprised because I was on a live streaming there in Tokyo, and a couple of guys asked me to confirm and tell about this story I'm gonna tell you about now, which is that it's not a secret anymore. So I can officially say that at the very first Night of Fire was rejected. Can you believe it? By Avex. They didn't want it. Yes, it was a secret until like a couple of years ago. But after COVID, something changed in the world. COVID-19, and it blew up. The secret is not a secret anymore. So yeah, initially they rejected. They didn't like it. Back then, we were used to send DAT. Do you remember the DAT? DAT was a very small cassette, digital cassette. It was called DAT.
Yeah, I think my dad showed me a few of them lying about in his garage or something.
Yeah, right. So on that DAT, it was there was like other tracks like thank you, arigato, say you will, you will, something like 7 tracks on that deity, and Night of Fire. Avex took all the tracks except for Night of Fire. They said, pass, we don't license this.
Oh my God.
I was in shock because okay, I'm going to tell you a secret. Night of Fire is not my favorite track at all.
Oh,
okay,
we'll get to what your favorite is later.
I'm anticipating your question. But anyway, I like it because it's powerful. I made it on guitar. I like it. But it's not my favorite, okay? Anyway, but I knew it was a very good track back then, okay? So when I read pass, not license, I was, why? This track is not so bad. It deserves, something more than pass, not license. Yeah. And so thank God, someone in the higher forces sent me a kind of plus energy, and I remixed it in like 2 hours, very, very like a rough mix, because thank God that track was the very last track in the DAT. Okay, so the move and every setting, it was still on my mind back then. So I said, okay, I'm gonna remix it because I remember how I did it. Okay, so I remixed it, and the second version I sent them in Japan is the one that everybody knows. Okay, so at first they rejected, and this thing makes the whole story behind Night of Fire even more crazy to my eyes. So to answer your question, I'm very happy, but the story behind all of this is so crazy that it's a kind of destiny, it's kind of something written path in my life. It was that would have been my destiny, okay? Because the higher forces probably send me some advice or reorganized my life, despite Avex will, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's so I didn't expect it, to answer your question.
No, 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 absolutely not. Especially with the rejection of Avex, which honestly doesn't surprise me because, like, a few months ago, I interviewed a British band, Right Said Fred, and they were talking about a song they did called Deeply Dippy, and they said, oh, our record label didn't want that on the album. I was like, what? And they're like, no, they didn't want it.
Yeah.
It became a UK #1 hit and an Irish #1 hit as well. So
think about the A&R from that company, record company. You could
exactly. So I'm glad you got to prove them wrong eventually with this song. Another one of the tunes that I quite like that you did as well. It was in the first stage of Initial D as well. It was a tune called Heartbeat, and I quite like that because the sort of hit stab kind of works a little differently to other sort of songs that you hear. So how did that sort of tune come together?
Okay, Heartbeat is a slightly different had a slightly different process back then because Giordano Foglia, probably you've heard about this guy. Giordano Foglia is a very good melody maker, which is used to be working with me since 25, 30 years. Even back in the day when I was working in at ABC, you know about ABC record label. You know?
Yeah, that was Dave Rogers' old record label, wasn't it?
Yeah, right. That was a very, an incredible dream team. It was there was a very good artists. There were very good artists in there, like Dave Rogers, of course.
Yeah.
Which was the owner, Domino. Domino, Domino.
Oh, absolutely.
It was, by the way, his wife.
Yeah.
Virginelle, Gino Caria, who sadly passed away back in the 90s, late 90s.
Oh, gee.
Sandro Oliva, Giordano Foglia, Annerly Gordon, Elena Ferretti, Ken Laszlo. We were a dream team, seriously. And Giordano Foglia decided back afterwards to join Sinclair Style, my record company. And so he wrote the melody for that track, for Heartbeat. And so Heartbeat has a totally different style from my composing way. Okay, it's very different. But when it comes to production, my style is always the same. So it's a combination, it's a mixture of Sinclair, myself style in arranging, doing sounds, synth phrases, and all that, and Giordano Foglia melody making. Okay, so it's a hybrid product, and I'm very happy about that because people could get bored from one style, always the same, hundred of tracks, Eurobeat tracks, same sounds, same kick, same bass, same BPM. You get the risk to get the people bored, And when you have another composer next to you, which is very mature as a composer, he's a pianist, as a very good musician. And it's something that I'm very glad to work with him. And the result is just tracks like Heartbeat and many more like this,
Yeah, absolutely. So good, interesting story as well. I didn't actually know there was another writer on that one, so that probably explains the sort of different type of style of track that's there.
Right. And I love it because my style is very aggressive in sound, in the balance. Okay, the balance is the equilibrium. How you say the balance is how you mix the volumes of the sources. Okay, but the sound and the balance are very different aspects, very different parameters in mixing a track. So my sound is very aggressive. I always been calling this a sort of live sound. I didn't like, I never liked for example, the very clean kick drum.
Yeah.
Very, very, very clean. I like mixing it up with the bass sound, like in rock, like in a rock track. Okay.
Yeah.
So I call it a dance live sound. That's my style. And so when another composer comes to you with a melody line which is very pop, very melodic, totally different from my composing style, and you mix together these two ways to it, it comes out, it turns out very and something very interesting. Okay, and Heartbeat is one of them. You know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think another sort of tune that kind of really represents your style, and I think it's probably one of the most like unique sounding Eurobeat songs if we were to compare all of them, and that would be the song Speedy Speed Boy, because of the way it builds up with just a little cleaner guitar riff. It then the synths come in, the guitars get even heavier then, and then you have Maurizio on the vocals there, you know, doing his thing. So what was it like making that tune, Speedy Speed Boy? How did that whole thing come about?
Speedy Speed Boy,
burning the Speedy Speed Boy.
Right. Imagine that like this: hi-hat, snare drums, and kick drum. Speedy Speed Boy. It's like it is all everything from me. I compose it. Comes from this setting, okay, this idea, this approach. So I always imagining at that stage, the stage of composition stage, it's always a rock track for me, each and every one, even the melodic one. So in my mind, it works always like this. After this process, when the whole track is done, verse, bridge, refrain, and sing phrase, wrote it and imagined and created with the guitar. After that, I put everything on a computer. So it's something that other producer and other composer in the dance field probably don't do, because I have this setting in my mind. So Speedy Speed Boy, it's one of my favorite, if you ask me.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite. Okay, together with, for example, Speedway.
Oh yeah.
It's another track. Sometimes when I'm doing something, the track comes on in the background. I'm surprised. I did it. Okay, because because it is. It must be the way. It's something. It's something like this. But when you hear it, it's kicking. You know, it's working. It's intriguing, and I'm so happy and proud of those compositions.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And have you have any other sort of favorite tunes that you've done as well, or even some new ones? I know that you're still kind of dabbling into Eurobeat every now and again with some new stuff.
Yeah. They asked me. Oh, they also the Super Eurobeat 2023, which was released like two weeks ago or so. Avex always asks me about a guitar. Featuring guitar, or one track featuring my guitar. So I'm very happy with that, of course, because that's my attitude, man. And I'm very happy about that. So the one of the tools is Fire Trails. Did you hear? Did you?
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that a few days ago. Pretty good tune.
Thank you, Jack. That's one more track like that, like Iron Power from last year. Did you check it? Iron Power.
Don't think I heard Iron Power. I don't think I've heard it. I'll have to give that a listen.
Go check it. and the other track is from Roberta, which is a very good singer, female, and the track is called Fast Lane, of course, always referring to cars racing and all that, of course. Fast Lane. So Fire Trails, steering wheels on the road, and from Dejo, and the Fast Lane from Roberta by Roberta. Those tracks are on compiled on a Super Eurobeat, the best of Super Eurobeat 2023, which was just released a couple of weeks ago. I'm very proud of this track too. Man, it's like 32 years. I mean, Eurobeat. Like, it was September I remember the date, September 9, 1991. That was my very first day in a studio at ABC studio in Mantova, in north of Italy. That was my very first day in a Eurobeat. And today I'm still here talking about my music. That's crazy, man. I wouldn't say back then, seriously, but I'm so happy about this. One day, if you have time, I'll tell you about the story behind my artist name.
You know what? We can go into that now, actually, because I know a load of Eurobeat artists have like so many aliases and different names. I mean, Maurizio himself, goodness gracious, the amount of names he's gone down alone, and even Dave Rogers with being a left at one point. So, how did the Bratt Sinclaire name come out for you? And what is it about Eurobeat artists going and having all these aliases?
Okay, for the second part of your question is very simple. Eurobeat started to fulfilling the Super Eurobeat compilation, okay, which was released monthly back then by Avex Tracks, the name back then, the Avex name back then. So they had this compilation being released monthly, 22 days, each 22 days, every month, plus the best of, plus the non-stop remix, plus Maharaja, which was a disco, a very famous disco trademark in Japan. They were very pretty much of them, like 12 or 15 Maharaja, one in a couple of them in Tokyo, or a couple of them in Osaka. So they had this disco. So Maharaja compilation, and they had a lot of compilations. So they needed a lot of tracks. But in Italy, on our side, we had like 10 singers, 10 performers, and that was it. So that's why Maurizio, for example, he was DSX, Marco Polo, Casanova, afterwards NIKO, and Dejo now. And he performed for many aliases. And so that's to answer the second part of your question. About my name, Bratt Sinclaire, that's crazy, really crazy. Back then in 1991, yes, I still was in my rock attitude, in my heavy metal. I was like long hair like this,
Yeah.
And Alberto Contini called me up and said, come to me, and because I have an appointment on the phone with Avex, and they liked very much your tracks, which was tracks, and that one was Tango from Virginal, by Virginal, I believe. Yeah, Tango. So I got his house, and he was on the phone already at his office, and he was on the phone like, okay, I'm on the phone, how with Japanese. Okay, I'm here with my bag like this, so young, and he said, okay, they want you to change your name, real name, which back then was Andy Leonardi. Andrea Leonardi is my real name, and I was used to put my signature like Andy Leonardi as a producer in the credits, okay, but didn't like it. They didn't like it. They want me to change it into something else. I was standing in the room like this, and it was okay. But one name, my real name? No, another one. Change it now. Yes. Like this. At that moment, I said, okay. Let's do it Jericho, like Jericho. I don't know why back then. And he said, no, let's forget. No, it's too much complicated, Jericho, complicated with the politics, No. Try one more. I was frozen. I didn't know, So suddenly it came to my mind. You're a young guy, but probably you know about that. I was a very big fan of a TV series called The Persuaders with Roger Moore and Tony Curtis. It was a late 70s, early 80s TV series, okay? And I was a very big fan of it. And Roger Moore played Bratt Sinclair, okay? Bret, one T, Senclar, okay? So I just added one E at the final, the last name, and Bratt with two T and an A, okay? Bratt. I just changed it for copyright reason, of course. I didn't want a problem. So, but I decided in like 20 seconds. Okay. Yeah, but for me back then it was just playing something funny, or a funny game. Like I was still set in rock and roll, so Eurobeat was just a way to get some money and playing some funny games with a disco dance. It was
Yeah.
but to these days, my artist name still is Bratt Sinclair. Think about that. That's crazy, you know. That's very crazy. You never know, man. You never know in your life. You do something for something funny, like okay, let's do it. Okay, Bratt Sinclair, write it down. Bratt Sinclair. Okay, let's have some pizza now. And but 35 years later, 35 years later, I'm still here. This is Bratt Sinclair, man. Think about that. This is just insane, man.
No, yeah, that reminds me a little bit. Like a few weeks ago, I interviewed one of Ireland's like TV presenters, Martin King, but his name is Martin Boyle. He had to change it because of the pirate radio days back in the day. He was on a pirate station, so he had to change it, and it just came like last minute. He was like, I like Martin Luther King, so okay, I'm Martin King. Hi, everybody.
Right.
Just straight there,
Right.
and we still call him that. We still call him that.
Right. The same thing. It's I was so young, and how could he have been imagining something like this, and all the success in Japan and making money with dance music, cutting my hair, which was so long, then life 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 is very strange, and in a bad way could be, or in a very good way. I've been so lucky, Jack, very lucky. Of course, I know I'm a talented guy, of course. Okay, I know, but uh, I've been so lucky doing the right thing in the right moment, in the right place, with the right people, and it's something very, is a synergy. It's a very delicate balance, and I've been lucky, man. Lucky and strong, and I have my skills, of course, but I'm a lucky man, very lucky, and I know.
Absolutely. Luck was on your side. That's for sure. It was on your
Yes.
side, absolutely. And now and you've been around, as you said, for many, many years doing all this Eurobeat music. So I was wondering, will there be any sort of live shows that you'll do where you'll perform the Eurobeat music? I know you've done a few in the past, but
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, yes. We've been, for example, but of course, I've been touring as a rocker, but
yeah.
before Eurobeat, of course, in my uh, other life, my previous life before Eurobeat. And but in a Eurobeat, for example, we've been touring together with Dave Rogers. I've been touring together with Dave Rogers when I was as a freelancer at ABC record from 1981 to 1985. And we've been touring in Japan together with him and the whole circus, Eurobeat circus. The guys that I named before, Virginel, Domino, all those guys, fantastic musicians and performance. And because back then, one of the very good idea Alberto Contini had back then was launching Eurobeat uh, um, doing a very important album, which was Tetsuya Komuro. Have you heard about Tetsuya Komuro? Tetsuya Komuro was the frontman and guitar player of TMN, which was a boys band, one of the most important boys band in Japan back then.
I see, right.
Yeah. And Tetsuya Komuro decided, he said, yes, okay, let's do an album of my track in a Eurobeat covered, remade in a Eurobeat version, because Eurobeat was very growing up, becoming very popular back then. So it was on fashion, and he quit with the band. At that time, he needed to push his solo career. So he said, okay, let's do it. And Avex said, okay, let's do this project. We did the album in Mantova, and then we got to Japan touring together with him. And we were in Sapporo, in Osaka, Nagoya, a lot of cities there. And we performed together with Tetsuya Komuro on stage at Giuliana's Tokyo. Have you heard about Giuliana's Tokyo?
Not entirely sure. No, I'm not entirely sure.
Giuliana's Tokyo was the previous name of Velfare. Velfare, have you heard about Velfare, the disco in Japan?
The disco? No, you see, I've not been to Japan. I mean to go there, but I haven't been there.
No, but you know why I'm asking? Because Giuliana's Tokyo and Velfare, they had two compilations released by Avex, very important compilation, techno, Eurobeat, and trance. And Giuliana's Tokyo and Velfare were the Avex official big disco in Japan, in Tokyo. So when the most important artists came to Japan, they brought it there at Giuliana's Tokyo first, and the Velfare after, and like 5 floors underneath, very something very majestic, incredibly high tech back then. And so like I said, we've been touring and performing 3 nights there together with Tetsuya Komuro for launching the album, Dave Rogers album. The album was called Dave Rogers and TMN, or something like this. TMN meets disco style Dave Rogers featuring Dave Rogers, something like this. I can't remember exactly the name. And that was very important for launching Eurobeat, even beyond the Eurobeat world, and that has been very, very important. And we've been touring there. And after that, with NIKO, I was touring with NIKO, the other guy. There was 2 NIKOs. Have you heard about?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what was it about 2 NIKOs? You had the singer, which was Maurizio, and then you had this buffed up model guy who came out, and he didn't even sound the same as him and everything.
Yeah, I was surprised too, man. Suddenly one day when Night of Fire blasted, Avex asked me, Brett, we needed one very handsome boy to represent NIKO in Japan. I was what? Yeah. We need a very handsome boy to perform Night of Fire, which is so popular now in Japan. And I said, okay, but Maurizio is the original voice. Maurizio, man, he's a very good singer. You know him because of GSX, all the licenses in the past. Yeah. We know he has a very good voice. He's a good performer, but still, we need a very handsome boy. I was in shock back then. So I had like 48 hours, as usual with the Japanese business, to decide and finding a new handsome boy for performing the fire. So it came to my mind this guy called by the name of Edoardo Arlenghi. Arlenghi Edoardo used to be my very old singer, not old, the guy, old the band from Layout, which was my very old rock band when I was like 15, 17, 16, 17, something like that. And we were his friends back then in 1999 when Avex asked me about this for this. And I called him up. You know, Edo, I'm in a situation. Can you help him with this? Yeah, let's do it. Let's rock. Let's do it. I'm gonna go to Japan. Yeah, let's do it. Send me the track. And I sent it to him. The track. He said, "This is not rock." No, it's not. This is not rock. So for a couple of years in Japan, with Maurizio's voice, by Maurizio's voice, the whole country saw performing this guy Edo like a full contact, champion, which is in the real deal, by the way. He was a champion, Italian champion for Savate, which is a kind of full contact martial art.
Amazing.
Yeah. And four times Italian champion.
I'm guessing that's why NIKO kickboxing exists.
Exactly. So that was crazy because I was in shock. I have the original voice, the original guy, which is a very good performer, very good. He has a very good voice. Everyone knows his voice in Japan because of Night of Fire. So why you want to change it? Like, no. We need something different. But 2 years later, in 2001 or 2002, they changed it back again. Okay, let's bring Maurizio back. So in Japan, there's a lot of people asking me, but is that NIKO? In 2016, I went to Japan touring with NIKO, Maurizio.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys, oh, you're great, NIKO. Oh, I love your song. NIKO, is that you? You got your hair back, right? Because the guy was a bald one. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Like I could only imagine all the Japanese folks there. Oh yeah, we're gonna go see NIKO. Did you get a hair transplant or a full facelift? What happened
a transplant.
there?
Yeah, a transplant. He got some hair transplant or something. But oh my God, this just, I don't know, man. That was the crazy request from Avex, but I couldn't avoid it. So that's a story for Night of Fire. Again, Night of Fire has a very weird story. It's I should write a book on Night of Fire story, or something.
Dude, it'll make you money.
Yeah, I should do it. Big, thick like this, but very, very, very. I think a book, a paper one.
You could, honestly, because I know that there's a bunch of people I've met in Ireland, like, who you wouldn't think have a book. But oh boy, they have a book about their life.
Yeah.
It's out there. You can find it. So get working on the book, man.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this. A lot of people suggested me, but Bratt, why don't you write a book about these stories? But lately, as you might have seen, I started my YouTube channel by starting 3 different video series, which is have you seen them? Have you had the chance?
Is that the one about how was this song made and then you playing the guitar?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. So the three different video series are How I Made It, which is about the production. Okay, how I produced the track with the synth sounds or weird stories like these ones behind the tracks. How I made it. Okay, talking about the production, technically speaking. The other video series is How I Played It on the guitar, which is the one you saw. And so I explain how and why I've been choosing this kind of riff and arrange it this way instead of the other way on the guitar. And the last one is Tunes Explained, which is where on the piano which is more strictly musical, which is where I play on the piano and I explain the keys and modulating from one key to another, and explaining how in my mind the composition process works, and which is for musicians. Okay, but I like doing this instead of writing a book. But you never know. Maybe I'm gonna write a book already. Also, okay.
Yeah, we'll
So
see.
you never know.
We'll see.
I'll never
We'll
know.
see. And I suppose probably my last sort of question that I'll leave it off with, because I mean we could talk all day, but that will mean no book. So gotta end it somewhere. So I suppose sort of the last sort of question I'd like to ask you is, since you were a rocker and you'd been doing rock music before you ended up in Eurobeat, is there any sort of chance you'll end up returning back to the rock and doing a couple of more rock tunes here and there?
I don't know. You never know, man. But uh, you see my Marshall
Yeah, it's
behind
right
my
there.
shoulder. Rock is always with me, and like I said, when I compose tracks, I turn on my distorted guitar, and at that stage I'm a rocker. Okay, so I never quit with rock. But on a on a discographic side, if this is your question, I don't know. Rock to this day is everything, and metal, industrial, thrash, Metallica still rules the world, and that's crazy. That's crazy too. And I don't know. It probably, I don't know. Probably it could be. You never know. Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't know. But still, I'm a rocker each and every day when I play my guitar from start brand new, and write a brand new Eurobeat track.
Yeah, it probably easy for you anyway to transition into like do rock music anyway, since you had it already, and plus as well going to other Eurobeat artists like Go2, who did a version of Don't Turn It Off as a rock track as well, and it transitioned really well. And I don't even know if they do rock music in the past or whatnot, so I'd say it'd be easy for you.
Yeah, it's easy, but I've been telling this and talking about this many times before. Doing rock is one thing. Rock is drums, real drums, bass, not the bass, the dance bass, the octave. Okay, the real bass doing a lick or
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
being groovy, something like that. Rock music, yeah, rock sound. The rock music is totally different, and if you put some distorted guitars underneath into a dance track, you're not doing rock. You're not rocking. You're doing dance music with a power chords, rock, okay, which is cool, which gives you much more power, right? But you're not rocking. Okay, so doing different version of a melodic dance track, and saying, okay, I'm gonna do it rock, but keeping the kick drum like this. This is not rock already. The groove is not rocking. You know what I mean? So if you put a distorted guitar underneath like a pad, this is not rock. This is a distorted rocky sound in a dance track. So it gives you more power, like a rocky sound, okay? But you're not rocking at all. If you're a rocker, if you know rock and roll and rock riff, you feel the difference. So okay. So if you approach a new version of a Eurobeat track by adding some synth and putting the guitar volume up, you're not rocking. You're still not rocking. It's just a rougher. It's just rough, a rough mix. A harder, a stronger mix down, but you're still not rocking. So I'm a rocker, and I have respect for rock music. So when I put the started guitar in a Eurobeat track, I give more power, but I know but I know that I'm not rocking. So I don't want to make any confusion. I'm doing a Eurobeat, a Eurobeat. It doesn't make any sense, this sentence. Eurobeat is Eurobeat
Yeah.
and not rock. Okay. And if you're doing it with rock sound, okay, it's cool, but you're not rocking, okay? And so that's me. That's my way to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I absolutely do. Because you know, you have all those sort of synthesizers and brasses and basses that work in a dance tune and specifically a Eurobeat tune. And then you have the addition of the guitar. It doesn't make it a rock song. It's still a Eurobeat tune with a guitar that's rocking pretty hard. It's you know.
Of course, if you uh, do a different version of Speedway, for example, my track Speedway, Eurobeat, and you say, and you ask Metallica to do a cover, okay? Oh, my Speedway, my Speedway. It's not a rock track because it's very melodic. This is not a heavy metal track. You feel it, which that is very melodic. It is commercial. You know what I mean? For example, the final countdown from Europe by Europe. This is not a rock track. This is a pop track. This is not rock. This is a very melodic track. Okay. Okay. There's a guitar underneath. Okay. It's played very hard, but this is musically, you can, if you play on a piano, you feel it. This is not a rock track. It's very melodic. And for example, Van Halen, Jump, the same. This is not rock. This is a pop track. Okay. But yeah, played by a very, very strong and strong impact band like Van Halen was, you know. So this is not rocking. This is doing a commercial track played with a hard sound, with a strong sound, okay? And that's my key in Eurobeat. You know what I mean? But I'm very conscious that I'm not rocking. I'm doing some Eurobeat with some hard sound in it, which is cool, very cool. But this is not rock, okay? That's my point.
Yeah, that does make sense to me. It does make sense. You know, it's you know, you add a synth. It's not very rock. You don't have the synth. It's more rock. Yeah, I guess. I figured it out.
More or less, more or less. It's not easy to explain by words, you know, because you need some example, you know, to understand the point. But my Eurobeat style, the Sinclaire style is a combination of a rock approach in the sound, in the balance, in the arrangement, but still doing some dance pop tune. You know what I mean? It's a speedway. This is melodic, man. This is very melodic. Okay?
Yeah. It's something you have to feel.
Right.
Exactly. Well, with that, Bratt, we could talk all day, but then there'd be no book of yours coming out. So I think I'll stop there. So, Bratt, thank you very much for coming on. Is there any sort of last things you'd like to say? And would you like to plug in the socials?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, and Sinclaire Style is on all of that, and X too, of course, the X Twitter. I'm there, so please join me there. I'm there for all of you guys, and it's been a pleasure if you follow me, man. It would be great for me.
All right, thank you very much for that, Bratt. And you can find me simply on my YouTube channel, Jack Lucas Caffrey. I'm also available on Instagram and Facebook, where next year I'll be hosting a bunch of like highlights of the interviews that I've done. They'll be all going up on Instagram and Facebook, so you'll see little clips of maybe this interview and maybe some other ones in the future. But Bratt, thank you very much for coming on. And yes,
thank you, Jack.
Thank you,
Jack.
I'll speak to you soon.
Bye. Ciao.